Hello, this is Mark from My Keys to Music. Thanks for joining me on this video. Today we talk about the Nord Wave 2 and the power of the Polyphonic Arpeggiator. I'm going to start with a blank sound and I'll show you the difference. First, a traditional arpeggiator. I'll just do a simple saw wave here and I'll do a up pattern. Bum, 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 bum. Simple. Down pattern. Bum, 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 bum. Same thing in reverse, up and down. And as long as I hold the notes, it'll play through that pattern. Here's a random pattern. Okay, so now let's just enhance this a little bit, throw some reverb on there, add a little bit of attack, a little bit of release. Okay, so now as you play the notes, they will play in a series, an arpeggio, one after another, in whatever pattern you choose. So the Polyphonic Arpeggiator actually does something similar, but not exactly. It still listens and understands the notes that you want to play, but it plays them at the same time, kind of like a block chord. So if I play a single note, that's no different than playing a regular arpeggiator with a single note. It's identical. But when you add two notes with a regular arpeggiator, it'll go back and forth. Those same two notes with a polyphonic arpeggiator play at the same time. Aha! So, three notes with a regular arpeggiator. There's the pattern. And then the polyphonic, as you'd expect. Aha! So what we can do here is on the Nord Wave 2, we can combine the idea of one layer playing on a regular arpeggiator along with another layer playing a polyphonic arpeggiator. And the interesting thing is, watch what happens when I play a regular arpeggiator with those same three notes, but this time instead of holding them, I will, in rhythm, move them up and down. In other words, play them asynchronously. So in a sense, I get sort of a random sprinkling of the notes, not too unlike what it would be if I added the random pattern. Random, but in the random pattern, when I hold the notes will continuously play in whatever increment that I want. There'll be no break between the notes. But when I play like this and move my hand up and down away from the keys and back on them again, it's still going to play one note, but it's going to be random and there will be breaks in between. Now, using that same technique with the polyphonic arpeggiator, first I'll hold them straightforward there, and then as you play in rhythm, listen to this. It has a totally different feel. And when you introduce the idea of movement while holding the polyphonic arpeggiator, moving one note up or down, it really starts to make an impressive effect. Doing that same exact thing with a regular arpeggiator just doesn't have the same effect. And that's because it really is only playing one note at a time, and it has to pick whatever one is next in the pattern or however I push them in the order that I push the keys down. But the polyphonic arpeggiator can really introduce some nice rhythms. Depending on how you play. Taking that concept to an extreme with a fully built out sound, you can have some really, really nice effects going on. Here's a sound that I've called Fast Train, and it has how many layers in this guy? Is it just the one layer? I guess it's just the one layer that's playing. Layer C happens to be. And I'm using a polyphonic arpeggiator, and we're really cranking the arpeggiation rate, 350 BPM. And the interesting thing about this is it's sort of a great way to exercise your fast movements in 16th notes, let's say, against a really fast tempo. So it's called Fast Train. So you can hear, and I have an LFO going there, so open and close the filter over time, kind of like a train going by. And then if you play in that same time at 350 beats per minute, you can really do some good exercises. Now, I don't have to play every single note. There's a lot of forgiveness when you use a polyphonic arpeggiator when you're playing like that, but because it wants to play every note on those beats, it will eventually catch you. In other words, it's less prone to mistakes. If I were to do that same thing without the arpeggiator on, it's going to be a lot more sloppy. Now with the arpeggiator on, it sounds like this. So that one's called Fast Train. I'll make this sound available in the course, the Master the Nord Wave 2 course, and you can have fun with that. Now, it's pretty impressive for just one layer. Let me play you another one called Sticky. This one uses 2 layers. We got one layer doing this sound here in the left hand. It's definitely a sticky sound, like a bass, pulsing bass, but it's a polyphonic arpeggiator again. This time I'm syncing it to the master clock so we can use our beat buddy and synchronize all this. So that's the left hand, and then the right hand, this is kind of like the high part to that bass part, but still the same kind of stickiness. All right, and I also have this synchronized with the beat buddy here. The beat buddy is going MIDI out to MIDI in, and that's driving the master clock. So when I put the beat buddy on, you can see it's synced to 128. So I'll have this accompany us here, and then I'll play without the KB hold and the mod wheel all the way down, and then let's just play like a verse and a chorus type of thing. Now we'll play the chorus. Now put the KB hold on. Okay, so that's sticky. And then I'll make that available in the Nord Wave 2 course on mykeystomusic.com. Let's look at another one, the Arps MK. That is, actually, let's look at two more. Let's look at this one, which has two layers. This time we're using the polyphonic for layer 1. I guess we're using the polyphonic for layer 2. Catch this one. Now, let me change the beat. I'm going to go to a techno beat. There it is, techno. And I'll go to techno 2. And let's just do 117. Lower the volume a little. So this one is an interesting, this is actually a takeoff from one of the sounds that came in, built in, but I enhanced it quite a bit. So on layer A we have, we have two layers that are on and available, but all four layers are used in this. You'll see here in a minute. So this one's kind of interesting. It has this pulse in the left hand. Boom, 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 boom. And then this really subtle pulsing beat that you can enhance with this. And this is the Polyphonic Arpeggiator, perfectly synchronized with the digital delay. And under the morph I have it so that it expands the range of the arpeggiator and increases the octaves. I added the choir and the strings. Then you can bring this down. So that's another sound, the Arps MK. 4 layers, 2 polyphonic, the other 2 are just held choir and strings together. All right, let's do one last one here. I'm calling this Wild Sprites 2. This uses all 4 layers. On layer A, we have a regular arpeggiator. On layer B, we have a regular arpeggiator. Layer C, same regular. And then on layer D, we have the polyphonic arpeggiator. So check this out. I don't have anything programmed into this. playing of the increments. And this is just such an impressive sound. You can really go so far with this. I also have a little aftertouch so that when I lean into the notes, we start having a little vibrato. So the last two sounds were really the use of the Polyphonic Arpeggiator combined with a synchronized digital delay. And it's just mind-blowing what it can do. So you heard when we first started, we had the one layer playing that fast train. Then we went into two layers playing the sticky sound. Then we went into four layers, but only two being sounded in the Arps MK. And then finally we ended up with Wild Sprites 2, which is all four layers playing at the same time with a combination of polyphonic and regular arpeggiators. The only other notable thing about this, and there's a lot to this sound, it literally take an hour to explain it all and go through it all in detail to kind of enjoy and capture each layer. But layer A is on monophonic, layer B is on monophonic, layer C is on monophonic, and layer D is the only one that's allowed to be polyphonic. But together they just work together so well. So really, really happy with this sound. I'll make all of these sounds available on Master the Nord Wave 2, which is really sort of a masterclass for those who want to take their Wave 2 knowledge to the next level. I guess I'm calling these my signature sounds for the moment. And we can enjoy the process of discovery on both of these, on all these sounds, and just enjoy the Wave 2 for all its awesomeness. It's one of the most underrated keyboards, but when you hear things like this, it just, for me, I lose more time in front of this keyboard than any other Nord keyboard, even more than the Stage 3. The Stage 3 is great for playing songs and playing gigs and things like that, but when you just want to lose yourself to creativity, the Wave 2 is where it's at. Thanks for joining me on this video. We will catch you on the next one.